Hello and welcome to episode 16 of PFT Talks. So today we have some news from YouTube regarding some new subscription services. We have some leaks from a lot of different companies including Motorola, Apple and BlackBerry. Of course, with that Apple event coming up soon, we have even more Apple news for you. But today, as I mentioned, the first article, we are going to be starting off with some new news from YouTube. So I'm sure a lot of you know that YouTube is a website where you can upload video content. In fact, most of you probably know us from YouTube. And recently YouTube launched its new music campaign, which never really took off, but it just kind of encouraged people to use YouTube as more of a music service. Now YouTube are kind of looking to up that game. It was kind of a beta thing before, but now they're wanting to make it a proper subscription service. So this will take on the likes of Spotify, Apple Music and much more. Now it will boast things like the available offline, which is very handy, and will only be $7.99 a month, which is of course $2 a month cheaper than all the other ones, and even cheaper than Tidal, I believe, which costs even more. So I think that's going to be the main thing, because for streaming services, a lot of them are so similar that the cost is the only thing you really need to do to kind of decipher between them. And if YouTube can come in with a slightly cheaper version, then I could see that being very popular. Now, for me, streaming services are very dull. They all offer practically the same range of music and all have the same features. But for video services, I think this video streaming monthly service from YouTube could be very interesting. Now this is going to be a bit like Netflix in the way that you pay a monthly fee and get access to different shows and things like that, but of course YouTube is a much almost larger site with a lot more content creators. Now, for example, you won't see content like us, like our content on the streaming service, because our content just simply isn't aimed at the kind of monthly subscription. But for example, there are beginning to be more and more YouTube series that are very similar to TV shows in that they have full casts and actors and things like that. Video Game High School is a prime example, and I would expect shows like that to move over. Now, we'll also of course see a lot of traditional TV shows move over, so just like they have to Netflix and Amazon Prime and things like that. So you might see things like Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, providing YouTube can manage to get the right people like AMC on board. So this is, I'm not sure. I think at the moment you can do pay-per-view content where you like I know a few people have movies on YouTube where you have to pay to get access to it, or you can rent it. But I think this is more of the monthly thing where you pay and you get access to everything rather than having to pay for each individual thing, which is of course not a new idea, but it'll be very interesting to see how YouTube can tackle it. And of course, with all these subscription services, the only two things you need to worry about are the price and the content. And I think the big thing for the video one is the content, because no one's going to quit Netflix to move over to YouTube if there simply aren't as many shows, because Netflix really does have a very large selection of shows, and I don't really see why anyone would bother switching over if they were gonna lose the, I don't know, the kind of selection.
I think the only thing that would really make you switch would be a selection of shows, a selection of good shows that you desperately want to see over on YouTube rather than on Netflix. I guess we're coming back to the same argument that we had a couple of weeks ago about Apple Music and Spotify. People might not sorry. As I say, as I die. Anyway, people won't switch unless the content's there. It's as simple as that. Depending on what YouTube does, who they sign, that's really where the battle lies.
Yeah.
Aside from that, it will be an uphill battle to get anybody to switch away from Netflix because of the vast assortment of entertainment that they provide. You know, from comedy to action to thrillers to whatnot. And I'm probably right in saying that even Amazon struggled to kind of keep up
Yeah, I think one of Amazon's main selling points is that if you subscribe to Prime, you also get the other
Yeah,
benefits like the free next day delivery.
Yeah, but obviously YouTube won't have that. However, the one thing that I will say that is in its advantage is the fact that YouTube is a part of Google. Well, it's a part of Google, so they might be able to cut some deals to get some of the content from the Google Play Store. Now, you can already access the stuff that you've bought in the Play Store on YouTube, so it's going to be interesting because it all. I'm kind of repeating myself, but the fact is, price point very important, as you've said, and the content. If those two things aren't there, the project's going to be dead in the water.
Yeah, I think if they go for the traditional TV show kind of thing, I don't really see them having much chance of taking on Netflix, because Netflix have such a variety of shows and they have such a big user base that simply YouTube won't be able to cope. But if they can bring in some of the more traditional YouTube themes, so like a lot of the, like I know people like Rocket Jump, Freddie W, people like that who make high quality content on YouTube and have almost like small film studios, people like that, if they can get the traditional YouTube crowd making the kind of high quality content and kind of keep the people who are already on YouTube, move them over to the paid subscription service, I think that's the only kind of angle they can tackle.
Yeah, it's kind of a step up. They might try and promote the YouTubers to try and change the way that their media is being consumed. You know, traditionally you'd have, if you'd be watching somebody like KSI or PewDiePie or Syndicate, you'd probably be watching it on your computer or on your phone, whatever. And I think they might try to push the quality, but at the same time kind of try and move them out of the kind of internet bubble more towards kind of the hard media such as TV and stuff.
Yeah. So moving on from YouTube, we have the first of the many leaks this week, and that's the Moto 360S. Now, if you don't know what the Moto 360 is, it's basically an Android smartwatch, and it has been extremely popular. Not quite as popular as the likes of the Apple Watch, but I think design-wise, it is most people's favourite smartwatch. It was lagging a bit in things like performance, the display was really, really nice, and it does, of course, run Android Wear. One of the kind of perks was it had that really nice round, almost bezel-less display, and it looked a lot like a traditional watch. Now the Moto 360S comes in with a bit of a different design, so we've seen pictures of this supposed device, and if you Google what the LG G-Watch Urbane, I think that's what it's called, it looks very similar to that. It's got a slightly smaller display, it's got a lower profile, it looks slightly less like a traditional watch. It's I think the main thing is it is a lot smaller. Now, we don't really know too much. I believe no, we don't even have the size. It's supposed to have a 270 milliamp hour battery compared to the 375 in the regular one, so obviously smaller display, smaller size. I don't think it'll make too much difference to the battery life, but yeah, this will probably run Android Wear as well, and I think the size is a good thing because the Moto 360 was a very big watch. I noticed a lot of people pointing that out in the review, and maybe if you were going to work or something, you're wearing a suit, it's fine having a slightly bigger watch, but if you're for example exercising or living a more active lifestyle, having a more snug, tight-fitting, smaller watch on your wrist would definitely be more suitable, and that's probably what the S is. This is probably a more sporty version, so expect to see much more focus on the fitness side, possibly some new sensors and things like that. So yeah, this will probably be another very high quality watch from Motorola. Hopefully it performs well, and hopefully the sport features are legitimately useful, because in a lot of other phones and smartwatches we've seen recently, fair enough, they've had heart rate sensors and things like that, but actually using them in a real sporting environment, they've been not very useful at all, and simply don't provide you with the kind of data you want. So
I think the thing with this new version of the Moto 360 is the fact that they've had a year to kind of work out all the issues and the problems that they've had from their initial release, the kind of teething problems. And I think there's going to be a lot of expectation on second generation smartwatches to really deliver a well-rounded experience. And I think I'm right in saying that Moto 360 will be one of the first smartwatches to get a second version. I think it'll be behind the
Apart from
Galaxy
the
Gear.
thousands of Samsung ones.
Well, yeah, but that's because like Samsung just thinks of a new niche and releases a new device every single week.
Yeah.
But I think Motorola are definitely a company that are on course to kind of nail the smartwatch idea for Android. But it's also interesting that I did mention it in my Tech Rumors article that is it Hawaii?
Yeah.
Hawaii? They're planning on releasing a smartwatch as well. And the interesting thing there is the fact that it runs Android Wear, but it should be capable of running with iOS devices such as your 5S, and I think they said anything running iOS 8.2 should be supported. So if Android Wear does end up supporting Apple devices, it's going to be an interesting battle because you're going to have a lot of companies being able to provide a good alternative to the Apple Watch.
Yeah. I mean, well, the Hawaii one does look like a very nice smartwatch, but the problem with that is it's a ridiculous price. It's something like $1,500 or something like that.
The Hawaii is $800 for the gold-plated stainless steel, but the basement version, so the cheapest one with like a leather strap, is $349, which
Yeah.
I believe was the entry price for the Moto 360 last year.
I mean, I think one of the things Android smartwatches is they all run Android Wear, obviously. So, for example, with the Apple smartwatch, you can speak a lot more about the software because they can offer different software features. But
Yeah.
for people like Motorola, if they want to compete with LG and stuff, it's a lot due to the hardware and the design. So simply
Yeah.
the battery life and how it looks, and with a watch, how it looks is very important. And I think Motorola are definitely kind of leading the Android game for the appearance. The Moto 360 is a very nice looking watch, and I don't know, the LG, no sorry, not the LG, the 360S doesn't look quite as nice, but as I said, it's probably aimed at the more sporty crowd, so I guess it'll be more handy for that, and having that option alongside the 360, which they'll probably, there was also rumours of a 360L, a larger one. I don't see that that being very popular.
You're right. There were a few rumours of Motorola deciding to take the Apple approach to the smartwatch market, in that they were going to have a larger version and a smaller version to kind of cater for people with different size of wrists.
Yeah. The thing with that is the regular 360 is already significantly bigger than the Apple Watch, so
Yeah.
to make one that's even bigger than that, I think, fair enough, make your phones bigger, but if you're wearing it on your wrist, you don't want a huge display getting in the way of everything. But yeah, the 360S will be a very interesting device. It'll be nice to see that kind of tested out in the sportier environment. So moving up to more leaks, this time with Apple. So even more rumours about the Apple TV. The kind of rumours about it have been going around for a very, very long time. This time it's more about the controller. So there's supposed to be a motion sensitive controller. I don't think we're too sure on exactly what this will do. I'm assuming you'll be able to use it with apps on the Apple TV. It seems to have some kind of touch display on it. It still has the very kind of basic small remote design that the original Apple TV had, with 3 buttons. So you've got a back button, a home button, and a play pause button. And I would assume you'd be able to use that kind of touchpad as a kind of to select something. As for the whole motion sensing thing, it might work in a similar way to, for example, the Wii controller, where you point at the screen. I'm not sure if that's what they're going to go for. There's also Siri voice controls built in, so you'll be able to speak to the remote, I guess, making it even more lazy. You don't even need to pick up the remote. But yeah, I don't know if Apple are really ever going to release this new set-top box. We've been waiting for an update for an unbelievably long time now. And I don't know, the rumours have been slowing down a lot. Some of the mock-ups for this new controller do look fairly final, but again, you can never really tell with these things. I think it's supposed to be delayed until WWDC next year, which will be just before summer, I believe. That's when that usually takes place. Of course, there is always the chance that we'll see it at the upcoming Apple keynote on the 9th of September. So you'll kind of have to wait and stay tuned to see if we see anything from that. But yeah, Apple TV is not really a product I'm interested in, possibly because it's so old. If they can kind of give it some new features, I might look into it. But yeah, that's all the rumours from the Apple TV. Now, this topic is one that I know Patrick is very interested in, and it seems to have caught a lot of people's eye. So, in the past kind of few weeks or months, we've seen a lot of mock-ups of posters and designs of the BlackBerry Venice, which is BlackBerry's upcoming Android smartphone. Now, as I said, these have all been kind of computer-generated images, so you can never really tell with those things. It could easily just be someone on their computer making up fake pictures, but we've seen some pretty concrete evidence. We've got photos, high quality photos of someone actually holding the device, playing around with it, and it looks very, very impressive. Now, basically what it is it's a full Android device running what looks very close to stock Android, and it has a kind of slider feature, so you slide down and you reveal the traditional BlackBerry keyboard. And this of course makes the phone slightly thicker, but it's kind of staying in tune with BlackBerry's past and the devices we've seen from them before. So I guess I'll let Patrick take it from here because he knows a lot more about this device than I do.
Right. Let's start with this. I cannot actually contain myself. Let's dial it back a bit. I've always liked BlackBerries for their external design. There have been a few times where I've been really, really tempted to actually go and spend money on one, but I decided against them mainly because of the fact that BBOS was not necessarily the most polished OS. There were a lot of apps missing from the App Store, but most importantly, it was the kind of fear that the device will not get continued support. You know, if you buy an iPhone, you know that you're going to get updates for at least the next 2 or 3 years. With BlackBerry, I wasn't necessarily sure that was going to happen. But at last, BlackBerry have seen the light and they decided to make an Android device. Now, the rumoured specs for the BlackBerry Venice suggest that it's going to be a 5.4-inch device with an 18 megapixel camera on the back. I'd be assuming that it's going to come with the latest Snapdragon processor, probably coupled with 3 gigabytes of RAM. The interesting feature about this device is the fact that it's rumoured to have an 8 megapixel front-facing camera. Now, whether that's true or not is a whole different kind of ballgame. But it's, I think what BlackBerry is trying to do with this device is kind of one-up all the kind of devices that have just recently come out. You know, your Moto X Styles, your Galaxy S6s. Now, we won't be seeing this device announced until November, I believe. But rest assured that we will be covering this device, mainly because there's a high chance I will actually buy this device as my daily driver. My contract runs out in January, so depending on the price of this device, I will seriously consider it. It's, from the outside, it looks really, really nice. It's running Android now, so obviously all the kind of worries that I've had about BlackBerry and their ecosystem are gone. Plus, it looks ace. You get a physical keyboard, which might not be necessarily a good thing. I really want to give it a shot though. I don't know. For me, next to the Nexuses that we are expecting to see soon, this for me is about the most exciting device I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I would say over the past few years, BlackBerry have made a lot of really nice devices, but of course the downside has been the operating system. BlackBerry's operating system has been rather poor, and I think Android and iOS have always, and most likely will always be, the only two real choices when it comes to smartphones. And for BlackBerry to make that step, I think it's a very good decision from them. And I'm glad that they haven't just pumped out a regular Android smartphone, because I mean, when you look at Samsung, LG, Motorola, OnePlus, even the Nexus devices, they all make kind of bland devices that all have top-end specs, all have slightly skinned versions of Android. And I think this keyboard, while it's not useful to a lot of people, is something that definitely makes this device stand out, makes it different from the rest of the crowd, because when it comes to Android phones, you have so many options that are all so similar, that something like this, I think it will definitely appeal to the more traditional BlackBerry users who are used to using a phone with a keyboard like that, and are used to the whole BlackBerry ecosystem from before smartphones were really around. So yeah, I think this is kind of the revival of BlackBerry. This device
this
will
device
bring them
really
up a lot.
Yeah, this phone is really kind of the best of both worlds. I think what BlackBerry is trying to do with this device is kind of keep their remaining kind of support kind of base with, the die-hard people that love the keyboard. But at the same time, they're still having the massive screen and the whole kind of design that we've kind of come accustomed to. And it'll be really intriguing to see what happens with this device, whether it will be as much of a hit as I expect it to be. I want it to be a success because I really want to see BlackBerry back to kind of where it was beforehand. But most importantly, they're a company that kind of has been offering a fresh, different kind of approach to the smartphone game. The devices like the Z10, granted, had their flaws, but it was a great device. You still got removable battery and great insides, and it was a balance of everything that you really like about a phone. Now, there have been many people talking about the perfect smartphone and what it should have, and I really want the BlackBerry to kind of come as close as you can to the perfect smartphone in order to kind of restore BlackBerry in terms of being an actual viable smartphone maker. Like, if you go into your local phone shop right now and somebody offered you a BlackBerry, you'd probably laugh in their face and tell them to get lost, because, well, what they've recently come out with is absolute drivel. But now, this might be it. This might be their one shot at redemption.
Yeah. So, moving on to our final topic, the iPhone 6s. Now, of course, we heard recently that Apple have announced their September the 9th iPhone keynote, so I think we'll probably speak about it more in next week's show, because that will of course be the last show before the event. But I thought we'd just go over some of the stuff that we think we know about the new phone that we will be seeing at this event, in particular the iPhone 6s. So the rumoured features are this: there will be the new A9 processor, doubled to 2 GB of RAM, an improved 12 megapixel camera that will likely shoot very high quality video, 5K, 4K, we're not really sure, most likely 4K. It will keep the same design as the 6. It will use new 7000 series aluminium, which is not only stronger than the 6, it's stronger than a lot of phones out there, and will make this a very, very sturdy device to kind of tackle the whole bend gate issue from the last phone. It will of course keep the Touch ID probably slightly improved, a new Force Touch display, which is a big feature, and some new colours, so rose gold, gold, silver and space grey. Also, and there have been a lot of rumours about the front facing camera, so slow motion video on the front facing camera, and also possibly a front facing flash. Now, for me, I don't think video is something that's really used a lot in the front-facing camera, so the slow-mo feature isn't a big deal, though the front-facing flash, I'm sure for a lot of people, can be very handy, because nowadays people often use the front camera a lot more than they do the back camera, so that kind of makes sense, I'd say. A9 processor, we don't really know much about it, but going with the usual kind of incremental upgrades that Apple make, I'm sure it will be very impressive. As for the 2GB of RAM, I'm extremely happy that Apple are making this change. Again, it's nowhere near the likes of Samsung, but if you team that up with smooth iOS software, this should be a really well-performing device that can really keep up with a lot of the apps in the store, and you're not really going to see much lag on this at all. The back camera, again, is very impressive. What Apple tends to do is go way ahead of the game and then kind of sit there and improve software for ages, and we've really been kind of lagging behind in the megapixel game quite a lot now. 12 megapixels isn't exactly pushing them back up to the front, but that is absolutely plenty. Teamed with Apple's brilliant image processing, should make for some absolutely brilliant photos, and that 4K video should also be very, very impressive. I spoke about the kind of metals used in this. Again, from the test we have seen with simply the shells of the phone, it looks very, very sturdy, very strong, and I guess that's never a bad thing. How that'll affect the price, I don't really know, because I'm assuming the kind of stronger aluminium will cost a lot more, but I'm sure that it'll kind of stick with the usual price point. And kind of finally, the Force Touch display. Again, as I say a lot, this is down to the developers, if Apple open this up to the developers, how they use it in apps and things like that, but it should be a useful feature. It kind of adds another dimension to things. You can use it as another input method to the device, and it has worked quite well on the Mac trackpads. I've tried it out, it's on the Apple Watch as well. It's a very good feature that I enjoy using, and I don't see how it could be a bad thing on the iPhone. Now, overall, I would say the 6S is really stacking up to be quite a good device, because there are a lot of changes, actually a lot more than I kind of originally anticipated. So this should definitely be a device to look out for. Of course, generally with people, you know whether you're an iPhone or Android user, so whether or not this is going to be your next phone does depend a lot on the operating system. If you prefer Android, then this simply isn't going to interest you, but it's definitely going to be a capable phone with a lot of very interesting features. Now, I know Patrick, well, he does own an iPhone, but you have a bit of a different view on this, so it would be nice to kind of get your opinion on this.
The 6S is shaping up to be an exciting device. If you look back on what Apple has done, going from the 4 to the 4S, from the 5 to the 5S, the S has kind of always kind of been the half mark, just to say, oh look, we've made some progress. But this year it looks to be a bit different. You know, you're getting Force Touch, you're getting a lot more RAM, new camera sensor, and these are the kind of things that we've kind of become more accustomed to see when we go from the S to the next number, so like from the 4S to the 5. So all in all, it's going to be an exciting device. For me, the 6S, I know it's a device that I'm not going to buy straight away, because, well, it's an Apple iPhone. It's going to be ridiculously priced. However, the important thing for me is the fact that rumors have been suggesting that we won't be seeing a 6C. So what that's essentially saying is the fact that we'll only get the top-end device, so your 6S Plus and your 6S, rather than what we got when the next batches of iPhones came out with the Apple. Yeah, you got your 5S and then you got your 5C, the kind of plastic shelled colour iPhones. The rumours have been suggesting that that idea has been scrapped, and that the 5S will become the cheapest option of the iPhone on contract, which I think is an interesting move, because as far as I can tell, a lot of people bought into the idea of the iPhone 5C, where you were able to get a similar device, the 5C to the 5S are very similar, whilst saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whether this is a good idea or not it remains to be seen. Sadly, however, I was kind of getting quite excited about the idea of a 4-inch iPhone making a comeback, or maybe even a 3.5-inch iPhone. However, those rumours have been kind of put to bed recently, saying that Apple did try them out, but decided against it. That's not to say that we won't see a cheaper version of the latest iPhone come out later in the year. We might still see an iPhone 6C. It might just not be right now. Apple might come out, out of the left field and just say, with another event, just saying, oh, here's another device. But it all remains to be seen. 9to5Mac came out with an article saying that the 6C is just not ready to ship whatsoever. So you never know, Apple might still revert on their decision and kind of give us a cheaper iPhone, but who knows, Apple are the people who hold the cards just now, and I guess we're just going to have to wait till, was it September the 9th?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll find out then.
Yeah, I mean, regarding the other phones, I know rumours have been going against it. I would not write out the idea of a 6C. Whether or not we'll see it on the 9th, it seems not, but maybe slightly on a smaller event in November kind of time. Yeah. I would expect Apple to release a 6C at one point. As for the smaller form factor, although it would be nice, I can't see Apple kind of going back on the decision. I would love a slightly smaller phone. I quite like the size of the iPhone 5. I don't know. I know you like the 3.5, but
the market's gone. That's the thing,
Yeah.
When the HTC, can't remember what the device was, but it was one of the first devices that went over 4 inches, and as soon as that happened, everybody started pushing the screens bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And everybody was kind of shocked when the Note came out with a 5.7 inch screen. And now, if you look around at the devices, 5.5 inches is the standard. So, going back to, the holiest of designs, like the 4S, doesn't really appear to make sense. I would love one. I would go out of my way and buy one. But I know it's just not going to happen because there isn't enough people like me that would go out and buy one.
Yeah. So, definitely, I think next week should be a very interesting episode. As for the kind of scheduling of next week's episode, thankfully we got all the technical difficulties figured out today, so this should have been a smooth show. We've been live the whole time, and there hasn't even been too much lag. Now, as a kind of quick update to end the show, I am moving next Saturday. I would assume I'll be able to get my computer and everything set up fine.
Oh, wait. Yeah, you're moving next week, and the week after that, on the 13th, I'm moving to Glasgow, so I don't know if I'm going to get set up in time, so...
Expect a lot of changes. I'll keep you updated on Twitter, but I would assume we'll have the show out next Sunday. We should do at least.
Next Sunday probably is going to be good. 2 weeks.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely keep you updated. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe, like, and check out the link to our Twitch in the description down below so you can catch the show live when it comes out. So that is it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for watching. See you.